For the last 20 years, I have been resolving color conflicts in over 3,000 homes, and even more so with my paint products and my services. And I am here to tell you that no matter the size of home, no matter the gender or the culture or the circumstances that I would walk into, because I walked into a lot of different circumstances for sure, I always resolved each and every color conflict with connection, which seems to be the theme tonight. You see, I believe that connection is the biggest and the greatest sense of all. It is common sense. And I'm not talking about common as in ordinary. I'm talking about common as in shared. Because we can all feel when something is amazing because of its connection. We can feel when it doesn't feel right because of a lack of connection. And it is this belief in connection and common sense that allowed me to resolve each and every color conflict. There was once a woman who called me 13 times to rehash the color decision we had made for her kitchen. We had chosen the color red. And 13 times I would say to her, "Don't worry, we've got this." You see, she originally called me because she had what I called 99 colors of beer on a wall. Now that is a lot of yellow to choose from. And you know the yellow people, they always want yellow. They just think that that's going to brighten up their world. But I told her this, I said, "Look, your common sense is saying, please, let's not paint yellow. That connection doesn't seem to be working." And the reason why is because you've got all that orange as a wood floor. And you have all that orange in those cabinets, and in that wood trim, and in that dining room furniture that you love so much. So if you were to paint those walls yellow, you would be like a fly drowning in a pint of beer. And we both laughed, and she said, "Oh, that makes total sense." And I go, "It makes total sense." So now the same common sense is going to help us find another color for your kitchen. So you see, there's only 7 colors to the rainbow. And we're not doing orange, and we're not doing yellow, and we're not doing purple. And she said, "Oh, thank goodness, I don't like purple." And I go, "I know." Because the people who love purple, and I am sure that you guys are out here tonight, the purple lovers. Yes. Yeah, right? You have purple everywhere. Right? But the people that don't like purple, not a stitch. She didn't have a stitch. So I said, all we have left are red, green, and blue. And she said, "Oh, blues and greens feel cold to me." And I said, "Red it is." 13 times we rehashed over that red. So on the 14th time, she called me and she said, "Gretchen, I love my red kitchen. I can't believe how much red I have in my house that I never noticed. But most of all, I can't believe how much other people love it. Like, it's amazing. They just want to be in my kitchen. They love it. They feel it. They feel it like I do." And it's like, yes, that's the power of connection. Because you see, I believe that even if you look at a sunset, you would never take red or purple out if you hate it. Because it feels so good. You see, we have these senses that we share. Now, we've got vision, and we've got smell, and we've got taste, and we've got hearing, and we've got touch, the 5 primary senses like primary colors. And I know what you're thinking. Just because somebody is colorblind or blind or has hysterical blindness or chooses to close their eyes on purpose, that doesn't mean that we're not supposed to be able to see 20/20, right? It doesn't mean that we're not able to see 7 colors of the rainbow. That's what our vision is supposed to be. It doesn't mean that when somebody likes fish and somebody else doesn't, that they don't share in common the same pleasure when something tastes good. So we share these primary senses, and not only these primary senses, but we share these secondary senses, like a sense of balance, a sense of time, a sense of temperature, and the greatest sense of all, a sense of connection. And it's so great because it comes with a care reflex. That's right. The proof is in the baby. When a baby is born, we cannot help but care for that baby. That's how 7 billion people, regardless of circumstance, gender, culture, got here. And they're born with the same care reflex that we have still. It keeps on triggering. It doesn't stop when we're babies. And that care reflex is in charge of our connection. It doesn't matter whether it's baby Moses going down a river or baby Carlos in the movie The Hangover when they find him in a closet. If you can't take care of that baby or you won't take care of that baby, you're going to try to find somebody else who will. And it is this physiology that allowed me to solve thousands of color conflicts. But it also allowed me to solve the conflict that I'm here to talk about tonight. It started with my assistant, Ashley, who's here tonight. Ashley, at the time, was getting married, and her best friend and maid of honor had asked for the kind of gift she wanted as a wedding present for being in the wedding. I know what you're thinking. She didn't. And it's like she did. And you know, it's called gift giving, not gift asking. And it's really gives her a gesture of love, not a gesture of obligation. So Ashley was quite upset with her best friend. And I said, well, why don't you just tell her? And she said, oh no, I'm not going to tell her. You know what? She should know better. She should know better. And she doesn't care. She does not care. And I go, of course she cares. She's your best friend. She's in your wedding. She's like, no, you can clearly see that she doesn't care about the gift that I want to give her. And you know what? I don't care. I'm not gonna care. As a matter of fact, who cares? Who cares? The wedding is coming. I'm just gonna overlook it. I'm not gonna worry about it. You know, it's a wedding, whatever. I'm not gonna say anything. And I thought to myself, wow, that is so the opposite of how I helped my clients with their color conflicts. You see, they really cared, and they wanted other people to care when there was conflict. And when there was a should have known, they wanted to know. So I began to ask around. I asked my friends and my family, and it was like, hey, are you in the middle of a should have known better? You know, like when somebody said something, and they, oh yeah, they were in the middle of it. And if they weren't in the middle of one conflict, that was a current one, they had like about 20 billion other ones that they were willing to tell me about from years past. And I thought to myself, wow, this is what I'm going to start calling a should have known better conflict, or what I'm going to be calling it from now on, an SKBC. And I thought, wow, so these SKBCs are really prominent in people's lives. You know, they cause a lot of venting, a lot of imaginary conversations where you actually think that you're having them and you're not. And at that point, I was like, okay, let's see if this sounds familiar, because I noticed this incredible pattern as to how SKBCs work. Maybe you're in the middle of one right now. I'm pretty sure that you are. It starts with somebody doing or saying something that they should know better than to do or say. And then what happens is that you instantly lose trust that they care about what you care about, or they care about you, or they care about whatever. At that moment, you tell yourself that you don't care, or that who cares, or that whatever. And you see, that starts a dynamic of not caring. And it goes around and it comes back around, and it goes around and it comes back around in these uncaring ways. And guess what happens? It goes against your care reflex. And all of a sudden, you start feeling this miserable, visceral feeling that takes over, and it doesn't belong to an organ. That connection sense is all over the place. So pretty soon you cannot be around the person without wanting to explode like a landmine, or wanting to be like acting like all like an eggshell, like really fragile, don't step on me. And then it gets so hard that suddenly you want to end the relationship, and you do with blame or abandonment. But the crazy part is that because this is a sensorial conflict, it lives in your senses after the relationship has disappeared into a black hole without a trace or a word. And how it lives in your senses is so strong that even years later, the name of that person comes up, and it's like a dark, stormy cloud in the middle of a sunny day. I thought that I would pour myself into these SKBCs, and I thought with so many color conflicts that I resolve with connection, maybe I can do the same for this type of conflict. So I created a menu and a method, and I called it karma physics. I thought, oh yeah, what goes around comes back around. So let's do this. Let's make caring go around to reinforce good connections, rewire poor ones, and release and ground bad ones so that they don't hurt us and they don't hurt our children, and we don't leave this legacy, right? Earlier when we talked about babies and the legacy and their environments, let's just stop. Let's change the dynamic. I didn't realize how impactful what I had created for others wanting to resolve their SKBCs until I had my own SKBC. And then I saw its magnificent transformation. I had a friend that her and I started our friendship through circumstances. You know, like most of us start most of our relationships. And our circumstances were great. Husbands got along, children got along, neighborhood, schools, auctions. But we didn't really have a lot in common. It wasn't like we didn't have anything like in depth to talk about, but we certainly could drink wine and have dinner and go out and have a great time. A couple of years later, she gets breast cancer. And that's really, really serious. So now we're into a deeper connection. But again, it's still circumstantial. So we walk through that journey together, and then she goes through chemo, and then she goes into remission. And we are really happy that year. And that year, you see her, she gets great, and we celebrate her birthday. It's a birthday of life, and pretty soon we're looking at each other saying, it's so great to celebrate each other's birthdays. My birthday's coming up. Let's have our margarita. We're going to go out and celebrate. And guess what happened? She forgot my birthday. And I was like, she should know better. It's a year of celebrating life. And then I thought, I don't think she cares. And then I thought, I don't care. And I went, no, I'm not going there. The next time that I saw her, I looked at her and I said, look, I really care about birthdays being a celebration of life. And when you forgot mine, it felt like you didn't care about celebrating my life. And I acted as if you didn't care. She looked at me, and I thought she was going to say what I had imagined all along. Gretchen, I have chemo brain, and chemo people brain, they forget. And instead she looked at me and she goes, Gretchen, you are one of the most important lives in my life, and I love you so much, and I'm so sorry. And she started crying. And I was shocked. And we hugged. And from that moment, our connection changed forever. It was never circumstantial. Several years later, when she died, a week after her funeral, I was very sad. And she came to me in a dream. And she was walking towards me, and she looked completely healthy. And she was singing In the Arms of an Angel, the song that they had sung at her funeral. And I was like so excited to see her that I wasn't even like thinking about what the reality of this was, right? She walked up to me, she hugged me, she finished the song in my ear. We both started laughing, and I woke up. You see, we're still connected regardless of circumstances. So when I got asked here tonight to talk, I knew that I was expected to talk about color. But I thought, on my last day on Earth, on my last birthday, looking at my last sunset, this is the one idea that I wanted worth spreading like good paint. And that is that connection is the greatest sense and that we need to care. And I mean care as in choose connection above circumstance. And agree that common sense is extraordinary because it's shared. And R, please reinforce good connections, rewire poor ones, or release and ground the bad ones so they don't live in a legacy telling each other that we don't care. Because you know what? Expect everyone to care because we're born to care. And that's the physiological reality. And most of all, you care. I want to thank you for taking the time to connect with me tonight.